Okay, so are we live now?
Yes, we are live and recording.
Okay, awesome. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining us. And we are crossing our fingers that all of this goes well. It's the first time we're using YouTube Live and streaming live. And so the advantage is that we will record this presentation. And once we record this presentation afterwards, then you'll be able to access it here on the YouTube channel. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're really excited to have you all here. We're back in person. This is your senior year and it's exciting. I know we've been through a tough couple of years. It's been really tough for all of us. And so I'm excited that you all are here and we get to finish strong. So for parents and guardians that are here with your students, if you could please go to this link. I'm not sure if someone can copy that link and put it in the chat in YouTube. If you can go to that link and then sign in, please. You can, we'll give you a couple of minutes to go in and sign that, just so we have a record of who attended. So any of the panelists, I'm not sure if you can you see the chat in YouTube?
No.
Erin, are you able to see the chat in YouTube? Miss Patrick, sorry.
Nope. Okay, actually, let me just check something real quick. I think the chat. Oh wait. Yeah, it says chat is disabled for this live stream. So.
Okay. Okay, so that's okay. We'll just skip this slide. We'll continue moving forward. So any questions that you have, if you can just hold those, and then we will answer questions at another time. In Google Classroom, we're also going to be coming into all of the senior advisory classroom soon. So if you have any questions, just write them down and we can check in with you in your advisory classes and you all can ask any questions there.
Okay. So actually the chat has been enabled and I put the form in the chat. So you should be able to see that Google form in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Cobbs. So if you can go into the Google form and just sign in, and I'll just go to the next slide and just go ahead and fill that out while we're going forward. Okay, so as I said, this is the first time we're using YouTube Live, so welcome. And again, thank you for bearing with us as we're working out the bugs. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the chat and then we will answer your questions at the end of the presentation. And then one other instruction who is grabbing a paper and a pen, or if you want to take notes in a Google Doc, whatever works for you. But this is going to be a lot of information that we're sharing with you tonight. And so it can be a little bit overwhelming, but that's why we want you to take notes so that way you make sure that you retain all of this information.
All right, so I think we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Miss Cobbs, and I am the new counselor here at Preuss.
And I am Miss Carrillo. Thank you very much for being here. yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And I'm Miss Patrick. I'm one of the school counselors here at Price as well. And I think we have a few advisory teachers here. If y'all want to introduce yourselves.
Can you see me? Is this working?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Miss Ackerman. Thanks for coming, you guys.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Mr. Fulshron. Glad to see everybody.
Thank you so much. If you want to go ahead and continue, Ms. Cobbs.
All right, so we're just going to go around and just kind of say who our students are this year. I know the counseling assignments have kind of changed a little bit. So this year, Ms. Carrillo has students with the last name A through Garcia. And I have students with the last name Garcia Lozano to, if your first name it starts with an S, Win. And then Ms. Patrick has students with the first name starting with T, last name Win, to the end of the alphabet. And so we also have our Google Classroom code here. So if you have not yet joined our Google Classroom, please do so. As Ms. Carrillo said, there's a lot of information that is going to come your way, and we will be posting that and updating that as much as we can.
Okay, so we're really lucky to have the most amazing advisory teachers this year. And our 4 advisory teachers are Dr. Anderson, Ms. Ackerman, Mr. Fulcheron, and Ms. Wiedemeyer. So we have put together a folder with some digital resources, and this link will be in the presentation that we will send out to you. In this folder, we have a number of things that will be helpful for you, students and family. We'll have a copy of this presentation. We'll have the grade reporting calendar, so you'll know when all the different grades will come out this year. We're going to have a senior calendar that gives you a checklist of some of the important events for this year. Another really important thing is we are planning a financial aid workshop, and we're really hoping that the university as well as UCSD's financial aid office will be able to help us to complete that in person. So we're going to have a checklist in there of all the important forms that you will need to gather, students and families to have available for that meeting. There's also a release of information form that needs to be signed, but it's a Google form. It's very easy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll have the graduation check form so you can see if you're meeting all the things you need for graduation from Preuss, as well as the CSU, so University of California, California State University, A through G, making sure that you have all the things you need to be eligible for college. And the counselors, we will all be providing transcripts individually to students. So we'll have a little tutorial in there that talks about the transcripts and how to interpret those.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. So this is the release of information that Ms. Patrick was mentioning. So if someone could click on that, copy and paste that link into the chat, that would be amazing.
All right, we'll do that.
So this is for parents and students to complete together. Basically, you're just giving us permission to release information, and that information, all of the information that you are giving us permission to release is listed on the form. So once you click that link, it'll show in the description exactly which types of information that you're giving us permission to share. Please make sure that you fill that out. You can start now, but just make sure that you finish and submit that so that we have that on file. So here's a little bit of information about our Price graduates from class of 2021. So 93% of our graduating class was accepted to a four-year college or university. An impressive 54 out of 105 seniors from the class of, whoops, that's supposed to say class of 2021, were admitted to UC San Diego. And then 83% planned to enroll at a four-year college or university, 49% at UC, 26% at CSU, 8% at a private or out-of-state college, and 17% of our students are attending a two-year community college before they transfer to a four-year.
All right, so there are three parts of the senior wheel that are required by all of you. It is senior research, service learning, and internship.
And Ms. Copps, Miss Ackerman, who's one of the senior advisory teachers, she is one of those teachers. So I think she wanted to just say a couple of words about the senior wheel.
All right, Miss Ackerman.
Hi. So senior wheel this year, it's 3 sections. The first section ends the beginning of November, and then they'll move on to the second. There are 4 classes doing the senior wheel this year. And my group is starting with research. In research, you have to develop a thesis on a topic that could be argued, and then do a bunch of reading and researching to write a paper and be an expert in that topic. For service learning, because of COVID, things are a little bit different this year. We're doing a lot of on-campus service learning and internships. So students will be helping tutor other students. In internships, they could be working for different people on campus or doing remote internships with people at UCSD. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Ackerman. Back to you, Ms. Cobbs.
All right, so where will you be applying this year? So we're just going to go over a few colleges and college systems that a lot of you will be applying to this year. You can go to the next slide. So our UC, so I know that most of you plan on applying to a UC, all of you more than likely, and there are 9 undergraduate campuses. So you already know the requirements, the A through G requirements. A 3.0 is a minimum GPA. You have to have your A through G requirements, your grades, extracurricular activities, and your PIQs, which is your personal insight questions. I believe there's 8 of them, and you have to choose 3, the 3 that resonate most with you. And once again, this year, UC has eliminated the use of SAT and ACT in admission. So they even said, even if you submit them, they will not even look at them. All right, and our CSUs. So there's quite a few more campuses of our CSUs. There's 23 campuses, so you have tons to choose from. Their requirements are a little lower than the UCs, which is a 2.5 minimum GPA, but they still require A through G courses. And CSU has also suspended the ACT and the SAT. So they are considered test blind. So same thing, even if you submit those scores, they are not even going to look at them. So many of our students have gone to many different CSUs, San Diego State, San Marcos, Chico.
I think you might be muted, Ms. Cobbs.
Oh, am I? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Ms. Cardio.
Okay, it might be my background noise. But what was the last thing you heard?
So I think we got through this slide.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide. All right, and I know that some of you also have some private and out-of-state schools that you are thinking about applying to through the Common App. So there's hundreds of different independent colleges and universities across the nation, which include Stanford, USC, University of San Diego, Yale. Even if some of you might plan on applying to maybe the academies, the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, there are many different private institutions that are available on the Common App that you can apply to. And I know that some of you might have the 2+2 option. So that means you plan on starting off at a community college and then transferring to a 4-year university. So there are 5 community colleges in San Diego. It's just kind of finding which one that's close to your home and applying to those. There's Grossmont, Mesa, Miramar, San Diego City, and Southwestern.
Ms. Patrick?
So every year we learn a little bit more from our graduating seniors about how we can best support next year's group of seniors. So last year's seniors taught us. Lesson 1, and this is pretty universal every year, but college admission is extremely competitive, even during the pandemic. And so we always recommend that you apply widely, keep your options open. We always talk about having a dream school, a reach school, and a reachable school, and a school that maybe isn't your first choice, but is definitely a school that would still provide you all the opportunities you want. So when you're considering your own personal experiences, think about the different things when choosing colleges. And sometimes the colleges that have the most amazing things available for what you actually want and hope to major in are not the ones that you thought of. So I think that, we can work with you as counselors and help you to see those things. And you can definitely navigate some online things, but there's a lot of options out there. More so than just the schools that you have dreamed about in an initial stages. There's many more that might be really, really wonderful for you. So we always say apply widely, apply to competitive and less competitive, public and private if you're open to private. I know some students only want to apply to colleges in California, which is fine, but there might be a private school that can provide a lot of things that you would really benefit from. We always say we recommend 12 colleges. You can apply to 4 UC. Every PROI student can apply for 4 UC campuses for free. We want you to apply to UC San Diego, but we also, recommend that you choose 3 other campuses because when you're filling out that application, you have that opportunity. We suggest 4 CSU campuses. Many of you will qualify for a fee waiver for 4 CSUs, but at least 2 CSU campuses you should apply to. And if you are willing to consider private colleges, you can find some out of state, or there's private colleges in California as well. One example of that in the area is the University of San Diego. So we recommend you apply widely. So go ahead, Ms. Carrillo, sorry.
Sorry about that. So one requirement of attending PROIS, you've probably heard this since the 6th grade, but this is a reminder that you must apply to UCSD. So we're part of the UCSD family, we're on the UCSD campus. And so that's one requirement. So just keep that in mind as we go into the college application season. So this is an important tip here. So like I said earlier, make sure you have pen and paper. Your advisor teachers, I'm sure, have talked with you about this, but as you're putting together your college list, make sure that you're choosing at least 5 safe bet colleges. So the student's academic profile exceeds the college expectations. So your academic profile, if you look at your GPA, if you look at your extracurriculars, you look at your resume, all of those things, if your academic profile exceeds what the college expectations are, those are your safe bet colleges. You're pretty sure that you're going to be accepted when you apply to those schools. So you're also going to select at least 5 match colleges. So your academic profile matches the college expectations. And then 2 to 4 reach colleges, which means that you would be reaching by applying to those colleges based on your academic profile. So how do you know whether a school is your safe bet, a match, or reach? So again, you've probably already gone over this in your advisory classes, but this is a good reminder. When you go into Naviance, you're in there doing your research, and you're looking at the scattergrams, you can look to see, you can look at other student profiles and see who was accepted to what school and compare your profile to those other, that alumni profile. And then you can see which of those schools are a match, or a safe bet, or a reach school. So lesson number 2, UCs and the CSUs are test-free for you all for class of 2022. So they will not consider any SAT or ACT scores when they're looking at your application and considering you for admission or for awarding any of their scholarships. They won't look at any of that through the year 2024. And so what are some commonly asked questions? So what if a student has very strong scores? Can they ask the UCs to consider them? So the answer is no. We just went to the UC conference and they said under no circumstances will the scores be used for selection. So they won't even look at them. Can a student submit test scores if they already took the exam? Yes, but only for placement or clearing an A through G requirement. So they can use your scores to kind of get an idea of which classes to place you in, but they will not even look at them for admission.
All right, so just what we were talking about, the test optional and test blind. So currently this year, most CSUs and UCs are test blind. So they, as Ms. Creo just mentioned, they will not be used in the admission process. They might be used for placement in classes, but not to be admitted into the college. But then there are some more private schools and other schools that may be test optional. So that means you have the option to submit your test scores and they may consider them for specialized programs, impacted campuses, to support statewide eligibility, class placements, or to fulfill other grad requirements. You can use those for those applications. But for this year, for fall 2022, most public schools are not using the SATs or the ACTs. It's more private schools that will have them apart. And so there's this website. I will put this website in the chat called compassprep.com, college profiles. And what you can do is you can look up the school that you plan on applying to and see if they are test blind or test optional. So as we said, test blind is they're not even gonna look at it. They're blind to your test scores. So they're not even gonna consider them for admissions, but possibly for course placement. But test optional means you can submit your scores and they might use them a part of the admissions process for the campus. So I will put that link in the chat for that website for you to see if you are interested in applying to a private university, to see if they're test optional. So does this mean it's easier to get into college because they don't need your SAT or ACT scores? Especially if you're not the best test taker, you might think, oh yes, but no, actually not. So just because they're not required, it doesn't mean that colleges will admit more students or change their overall admissions process. Actually, when we went to the UC conference, they said they've actually had more applicants than ever before. So it is still really competitive. So a selective school will likely remain just as selective, whether or not they require the SAT or the ACT. So what really matters is, you know, the extracurricular activities you're involved in, your volunteer hours, your internships, your grades, leadership positions you've had, and your PIQs. So what you write in your admissions letter, and if they ask you for a letter of recommendation, that's really going to support your application and admissions.
So if I could just chime in really quick, also, I know that we get a lot of questions over the past couple of years. We've been getting a lot of questions about whether or not you should take the SAT or the ACT. So we recommend you take it if you have the opportunity to. So I know that it was really tough for our seniors last year to take the SAT because there were so many cancellations of the test. There were so many, even if it was already scheduled, it would get canceled at the last minute. And so it was really tough. So if you are able to get in and you anticipate that you might need to use it for placement, or you plan to attend a private college that is still looking at those scores, then we recommend that you take it. Ms. Patrick, if you want to.
Yeah, so when we talk about A through G, I think hopefully many of you know what A through G are. Those are what the California State University and the University of California has determined as the minimum things that you need to meet in order to be able to apply and have what you need to be able to be qualified for a University of California or a California State University school. In the A through G requirements, there are 15 different requirements. There's a chart, and the A through G requirements vary a little bit between California State Universities and University of California schools. But the most important thing that we want to communicate is that this is above what is required to graduate from the Preuss school. Now, in order to graduate from the Preuss school, you need to have a grade of at least a D. But we've been talking to you all since you started Preuss saying we want you to go to a four-year university. So for four-year universities and for A through G, a D grade will not work. So in order to be eligible for these colleges in California, you need to have a C or better. So please don't consider a D just because it will help you graduate as what we would want for you. We want you all to be able to be eligible when we do the applications this fall for all of the colleges in California. So it's really important to pay attention to deadlines. And the good thing about being at Preuss is that we will remind you about all of these deadlines and keep you on track for this. Your counselor and your advisory teacher will be instrumental in helping you to apply for the California State Universities. And we will be trying to complete as much of that as we can in the month of October, so that even though the deadline for the applications for California State Universities is November 30th, we're going to try to get that application completed so that in November, we can really focus on helping you to meet the application deadline for the University of California, which is also November 30th. The application deadline for private universities vary, but they start in November, especially if you want to apply early decision or early action. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then your intent to register, your SR, your statement of intent to register, you will have to decide by May 1st which of the colleges that you're accepted into you would like to attend. And once you submit that statement of intent to register, then you are committing to that school, and you shouldn't commit to more than one school. You should be making your final decision by May 1st. You will be getting a lot of financial aid offers in March and April, which will help you to decide, but you do want to make that commitment by May 1st. The other thing is we want you all to apply for financial aid. And we hope to be holding a financial aid workshop in person if the university allows us. And we hope to sit with you and help you all apply for the financial aid that can help you afford college. And the absolute deadline for that is March 2nd of 2022. But we want that to be all completed, we hope, before the new year, so that you'll have everything you need. And if anything, if you need to update anything or correct anything, you'll be able to have plenty of time to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Petrick. So as Ms. Petrick mentioned, the deadlines for the private universities vary. So let's see. So we do have a document that we will share with you all through the Google Classroom that talks a little bit more about early action, early decision, regular decision, and rolling admission. So the application deadline for early action is November 2021. And then the admission decision, so you'll know in December if you were admitted to the college that you applied to. Early decision, the application deadline is November, and then the admission decision is in December as well. Regular decision is January or February of 2022. That's the application deadline. And then your decision will come back in March or April. And then rolling admission, it varies. So you'll usually get back the decision though within 4 to 6 weeks. So it varies on the college. Lesson number 4. So
Ms. Carrillo, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I just really want to say that that's not an absolute deadline. They do vary a little bit for each school, the early action and the early decision. But the early decision, you only can choose one school for that. So we'll talk a lot more about that in your advisory classroom, but the deadline, although that chart gives the average deadlines, it does vary a little bit for each school. Sorry, thanks.
thank you, Ms. Petrick. And yes, we are going to be going into your advisory classes in the next few weeks to kind of go over some of this in more detail. And we'll give you more information on the early action, early decision. And so again, so that lesson number 4, your senior grades and your GPA are still important. So a lot of times students get to their senior year, maybe not at ProAce, but just in general, senior, I don't know if you ever heard of senioritis, where you're just really tired. You've been in school for so many years and you're right towards the finish line and you kind of just get overwhelmed and tired. And then I've heard students say, well, senior grades don't really count, but that's not true. Your GPA is so important. The college is going to look at your transcript. We have to send an updated transcript at the end of the fall semester. When we get your grades, we're going to be sending in that transcript to universities. So they're going to look to see what your grades are this semester. And then just a reminder, I know that most of you know what the no mark grades, what they signify, but I still run into students who kind of get it, but not completely. And so the no mark grades just means that it did not affect your GPA, but you did not receive credit. So for instance, for one semester, like if you did not have, you got a no mark in the first semester of English 11 or sorry, AP English language, you got a no mark, that did not affect your GPA, but you received 0 credits instead of the 5 that you normally would receive. And so you will have to recover those credits, especially for the A through G requirements. And then if you earn a D or an F during your senior year, your admission may be canceled. Unfortunately, we do see that happen. We'll talk a little bit more about that in another slide, but it's not just for A through G courses. And so those of you who are in Apex currently making up those credits, those need to be done for seniors. You need to have those done by the 22nd of October. So write this date down. We're going to review this again as well, but make sure that you have those classes done by the 22nd of October so that we can put that onto your transcript, so that when you're applying to, when you go in and apply to colleges, you can count that as a credit that you've completed. If you do receive a D or an F during your senior year, and you've already been admitted to a college, or you have to contact them immediately. So we'll help you with that. We have a template for an email that you can send to the admissions department, but you're basically appealing. You're appealing the admission, and letting them know that you received a D or an F, and then they make a decision on whether or not your admission still stands. So just a reminder, no D or F grades this year, okay? So, and I'll just go over this slide really quick. So this is an example. We know this isn't going to happen to any of you, but this is an example of what could happen if you did get a D or an F. You could get a message like this, where the university comes back and tells you that after we looked at your official final high school transcript, we regret to inform you that you no longer meet your admission provisions. So this is an example of what could happen.
Lesson number 5. So keep in mind, a full ride to college is not guaranteed, even if you go to a public school. You can get a really amazing financial aid package with different work study grants and scholarships, but it might not cover the full thing. So just anticipate taking out loans and it possibly being a part of your financial aid package. I always saw it as I'm investing in myself, so it's worth it, in my opinion. And creating a budget and telling yourself, okay, this is how much school costs, this is how much I have in scholarships, and this is how much I can take out in loans, and even already starting to think about a payback plan. And applying for scholarships is often necessary and helpful. There's so much money out there. And I remember going to this conference and they were saying how so much scholarship money went unclaimed last year. So keep in mind, there's tons of money out there. You just have to apply for those scholarships and take your chances, because you might get them.
And I just want to say really quick, thank you all for asking questions in the chat. At the end of the presentation, we will go back and answer those questions. We'll have a slide where we'll answer questions. So thank you.
All right. So if you qualify, you will get fee waivers for your application. So you get four for UC campuses. So every Pro senior qualifies for 4 if they complete the fee waiver application. You get 2 fee waivers for CSUs guaranteed, but more than likely you'll also get 4 fee waivers because not all students may be eligible for all 4. And the Common App fee waiver, every Pro senior can apply for free. If you plan on applying to any more than those 4 schools, then you would have to pay the price per application after those 4, which is in the next slide, which is $70 per additional campus for the UCs and the same price for a CSU. All right, so what do parents need to provide for UC and CSU applications? So this is so important for our parents and our students who need to tell their parents the information that you need from them for when you're applying for UCs and CSUs, which is your parents' occupation, your total family's income in 2020, your parents' highest level of formal education, and the month and year you moved to California. So those are 4 critical things that you will need from your parents or your guardians.
So if I can just add a quick note to this as well. For any of our parents who might be undocumented, we will have, when we hold our financial aid workshop, we will have Amy Schooley there. I'm not sure if you've met her before, but she has come to Preuss and helped our undocumented students. But she will go over all of this information specific to the California Dream Act and how, like, what type of information that you all need to provide. So hopefully this isn't creating any anxiety for you. You still can apply. Your student can still apply for college and still apply for financial aid or fill out the California Dream Act.
Yeah, so please be on the lookout for that information for our California Dream Act students and our FAFSA students.
So Ms. Patrick was going to cover this slide.
Yep. So while we want all of our students to apply for federal student aid, or so either you'll be filling out the FAFSA form or the California Dream Act application. Many of the private colleges require another financial aid form called the CSS profile. You will only need this form if you're applying to private colleges. None of the state of California colleges that are public will require this. So any of the Cal State universities or the University of California schools would not require this form, but private colleges, many of them do. Not every single private college does, but many do. The list of all the colleges that will require the CSS profile is listed here. We'll also have that chart in the 12th grade resources folder. The good news is they used to make most students, even low-income students, pay for the fee waiver or pay for the application, but now there is a fee waiver, and most Preuss students should qualify for the fee waiver for their CSS profile application this year. But keep in mind, it is a more complicated form than a little bit more complicated than the FAFSA and the Dream Act, and it requires a little bit more information. So your counselors will be there and ready to help you with completing this form. So we want you just to think about some of the possible extra expenses that could come up in the senior year. We don't know if all these events will happen. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it's going to depend on the university and what will work. But there are certain events that Preuss does hold that will allow, that would potentially cost a little bit more. They're not required, but they are definitely opportunities for you to connect with your students in your senior class. And those are Airband, which is a talent show in the spring, senior dinner and senior breakfast. We hope that we can not have to have students pay for. The prom is still being planned by ASB. And if you have questions about this, the ASB senior class president, Kimberly Santiago, will be a great go-to for this. And senior t-shirts will also be ordered. So that might be something that you would want to order and be able to wear to school on the days that you can. And the good news is now your cap and gown for graduation are free. Preuss has come up with a way to cover that expense for students. So again, when we're talking about save the dates, we're hoping that we will be able any day now to get out the senior checklist, which will be a document that will also be in the 12th grade folder. And it will be a good reference sheet for you to make sure you're staying on track with all the different things that you need to have done by certain dates, including different college application dates, different financial aid application dates, and different dates that would be important for scholarships. There are going to be certain scholarships that are only available to Preuss students. So we're going to really encourage you to apply for those. Many of those and most of those are in the spring, but we're still going to encourage all of the students to apply for those scholarships.
So thank you, Ms. Patrick. So like Ms. Patrick mentioned earlier, we are planning our financial aid workshop. As you have all been so flexible over the last couple of like year and a half, It's still tentative because of COVID. We have to have it approved by UCSD to make sure that we can do it in person safely. So basically, in the past, what we've done is that we meet in the Walton Center. Our financial aid office from UCSD comes over and presents to us and goes over the general financial aid overview and tips. And it goes over step-by-step instructions on completing FAFSA. And then we break out into different rooms based on the FAFSA. I believe it's FAFSA in English, FAFSA in Spanish, and then the Dream, California Dream application. So we actually complete and submit it there. And so we're all there helping you fill it out, making sure that we all do it correctly. And so it's a great opportunity to come in and get that help. It is mandatory. And so if we do hold it in person, you will be expected to be there. We usually hold it on a Saturday as well. If for some reason we have to do it virtual, we will do it just like this. We'll have breakout rooms in Zoom, and we will do something very similar. And the tentative date that we have now is October 2nd, but we will be providing you with updates as we get more information. So in terms of UC virtual events, so being able to tour colleges virtually, there are some links here, and this presentation will go out, and so you'll have those links available. You can go on to different websites and take a virtual tour. Also, I don't know if you wanted to go over this, Ms. Cobbs. I think you said you wanted to go over this particular slide.
Yes, so we'll post this link in the Google Classroom, but Cal Soap San Diego is offering tons of different workshops and webinars and college fairs for you. They're all virtual. So all you have to do is just sign up for them, and then they'll send you the reminders and the Zoom information. So we have a few events coming up in October, some college fairs. So we have so Northern California Schools is October 2nd. Southern California Schools is October 6th. Central California Schools are October 9th. And part 2 of Southern California Schools are October 16th. And these are all colleges, private and public schools in California. So these are the college fairs. So those colleges will be represented at these colleges. So if you're looking to go into Northern California for college, then that might be something for you. Central California or Southern, check them out. But also that link will provide you different workshops for financial aid and scholarships, different things going on in the community that will help support your journey to college. All right. So as Ms. Carrillo said, the financial aid workshop is mandatory. As I've asked in the chat, I hope all of you are a part of our Google Classroom, because the most updated information will be posted there. Once we get the information and once we have everything solidified, we will be providing that to you, and it will be in Google Classroom. So make sure you are a part of that. And if you are not, I put the code in the YouTube chat, and we can also make sure we message you to make sure you join. So make sure this fall semester you're focusing on submitting your CSU, UC, and private college application. So working on your resume, working on your questions, your letters of recommendation, if your colleges are asking for that, making sure you're asking your teachers in advance, submitting your financial aid application. So we are going to have virtual college reps possibly visit, or they might be virtual. More information to come, and it'll be through Naviance, but don't quote me on that. We're still working on those details, possibly. Oh, and I already said that submitting your letters of rec requests to your teachers and counselors, please give them time to fill those out because there's a lot of you all who are applying to college. So they're going to need time to write you a really good letter. And then searching and looking for and submitting scholarship applications. So let's put those a part of our list of things to do with the other things we have going on, but this is pretty important, your fall semester.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, Ms. Cobbs. So if you notice on this particular slide, all of the words that are highlighted, they are all action words, right? That's what they have in common. And so if you have not already realized, your fall semester is going to be very, very busy. So you're attending these workshops, you're submitting applications, you're working on your PIQs, you're submitting your FAFSA, a note on the letters of rec. So a lot of seniors ask the same teachers because a lot of times it's your junior subject area teachers. And so making sure that, just like Ms. Cobb said, as soon as possible, asking them if they'll write your letter of rec. Last year, I know that we had a teacher who was really overloaded and it was hard for them to write all of the letters. And so the sooner you ask, the better. So just make a mental note. If you have a teacher that you have a really good relationship with, asking them now if they would be willing to write your letter of rec. And then I know some of you are, or most of you are working on submitting scholarship applications as well in your advisory classes. So I'll just say something quickly on this slide too. So I know there was a question in the chat that asked if we're going, I think Taha asked if we're going to be offering in-person college visits. So we're planning those things out currently. There's a possibility, we're not sure yet. Again, with COVID, I know that we were unable to go in person and tour colleges because you all, right when we were planning your in-person tours, we had to go into remote learning. And so unfortunately, you all were affected by that. And so it's possible, but just stay tuned. We'll give you more information on that. And also college visits. So in the past, colleges would come to Preuss to visit. And so we are working on that as well. I was just told today that we have the green light to do it in person. And so we will be coordinating that and then sending that information out to you all. But typically, I'm sure that you all are familiar with it, but you would sign up through Naviance, and all the information would be in there. And so we'll give you more information on that as we have more information.
Okay, so one of the things we recommend is if there are colleges that are local or colleges that your family might be able to take you to visit, an in-person visit to a college campus you're interested in can be very, very powerful. Sometimes when you actually visit the college campus, you can really get the sense if that's the right place for you. In order to do that during a school day, you would need to receive school approval. And they do request that you have 2 weeks notice to complete that form. And they typically only grant 2 school days, but we recommend doing your best if your family is able to visit any campuses you're able to go to on the weekend. We always like to take a few minutes to talk about parent and family involvement in the process during senior year, especially the college and the financial aid process. So parents, what can they do to help? How can they help their students? Have honest discussions with your students about the location of where they're hoping to go to college. Some students who have really amazing grades and have applied for scholarships will have no problem going to college even on the East Coast, even out of country. And those costs will be covered due to scholarships they've received or getting really strong financial aid packages from the university. But sometimes you need to think about if there are concerns with your financial aid, maybe you need to consider a college that is a little bit closer. Housing can also be really expensive, and sometimes your financial aid will not cover all of the on-campus housing. So these are great conversations for parents and students to have together, but encourage your child to explore all the different options. Encourage them to look at more than just their dream schools. Encourage them to look at other colleges that may have very similar programs that offer a lot of amazing things that will provide them with a great pathway to other opportunities and careers. You can get your financial documents for the financial aid application together. That'll be really helpful. And again, visit campuses with your child. You can even sometimes meet with the faculty in the programs you're considering. And you can even do a virtual college tour together. So those are just some suggestions of what a parent can do to support their student in the college exploration process. And also just think about your child's stress level. Just talk to them, listen to them, hear them out about their different concerns, fears, but also know that they may not choose the exact same thing as you, and just be willing to listen and consider. Your school counselor is also willing to sit and talk with you and your student about the different choices, but help them to stay organized and stay on top of deadlines. Offer love and support, but let them steer the process and choose the school that's going to be right for them.
So some things to keep in mind. There are some possible additional college costs as well. So tuition deposit, housing application, and a deposit for housing that might need to be submitted by a deadline. Student health fees, those can be optional at particular schools, but we recommend at this time especially to apply for or to take advantage of the health coverage that you can get at your university. Some of in our UC conference that we just attended, they mentioned that some of the campuses even offer health benefits for transgender students. So maybe even things that you would not even have access to with that health coverage, you'd be able to get hormone replacement. I thought that was amazing. And so I think this time in particular is a great time to take advantage of the health coverage. So deferment of fees are not guaranteed. Sometimes there are orientation fees. And then also, as we mentioned before, if you go in person to visit college campuses, that could be an additional cost. You might have to travel somewhere. And so just keep those in mind. And so some final senior reminders, we're almost done. So thank you for bearing with us up to this point. This is a long presentation, but all of this information is so important because this is key as we enter into the fall semester. So how do you manage stress? So Ms. Patrick mentioned earlier that, we are asking parents to help support with stress. As you know, as Price seniors, you've dealt with a lot of stress up to this point. And so some key tips for managing that stress. Number one, first and foremost, believe that you will go to college next fall. Just like we have been instilling that belief in you since 6th grade, that you can and you will go to college, and that's the mission of Price, that you will go to a 4-year college. You're right at the home stretch, and so believe that you will be able to apply, you'll get through this stressful time, and that you'll be accepted. So getting organized, so using your planner. I know that you all have planners, and some of you use them, and that's great, and some of you don't. And so this is the time to start using them because you're going to come up against a lot of deadlines this year. Don't assume, double check the deadlines and the admission requirements. So I already mentioned using your planner. So if you're not in the habit this is a perfect time. We have seniors every year staying up till 3 a.m. working on their PIQs. And so just being able to use that planner and managing the time will be really helpful in terms of managing your stress. Don't procrastinate. So in the past, we also had students submitting at the last minute. And so just a note that, during our winter break, teachers and counselors are on break. And so we won't be able to submit things for you. And that's really important because there are deadlines during the break. And so making sure that you're working on whatever you need to prepare for now so that you can get them in early. And then proofreading your essays and applications. You can have teachers proofread them. You can ask your counselors to proofread them. And just, making sure that your voice is coming across. One of the biggest things that I heard repeated over and over and over again during this UC conference was they wanted to hear student voice. When you're filling out your PIQs or you're completing your PIQs, they repeated, this is not an essay. You are treating this like an interview. So question and answer. And they want to make sure that it's your voice that's coming through. So look for that as you're proofreading your essays. And then ask early if you need help. If you already have questions now, make an appointment with us. We distributed our list with the QR codes. You can make an appointment with us through Calendly. You can come in and we can help answer your questions.
Okay, so I will talk a little bit about Naviance, and then Ms. Cobbs will help us finish up this PowerPoint. So we're almost done, everyone. We appreciate all of your patience. So we have access, and many of you have used the website Naviance for many years. We just got access to that site again. And Naviance can be your friend this year, especially senior year. You can research and compare colleges that have similar programs and similar things that you might be interested in terms of whether you'd rather be in a big city, whether you'd rather be in a private school, whether you'd rather have a college with all one gender. Those are the types of things that you can find on Naviance. You can also keep track of all your college applications. You can request your teacher recommendations directly on that site. Your counselor will do your counselor forms and your counselor school profile, but you can request your other recommendations from teachers on there. If you fill out the form, and we'll talk about how to do that later, your Naviance will connect to the common application. So all your private application forms can be uploaded directly from Preuss through Naviance. And so they'll upload to common application. Scholarship listings will be available for you. You can request your initial transcript, your mid-year transcript, which many colleges will want to see, and your final transcript. When you decide where you want to go to college, you can request it there. You can also submit, this is where I intend to go to school, and then all your information will be available to our database on where you're going to college, and we'll be able to follow up and provide any of those documents that are needed from the university, knowing that that is the school you have done your statement of intent to register to. If you have any questions about Naviance, you can email your counselor, and please know we're available for you. We know this is a lot of information. We just want to make sure that we're sharing this with you and your family, but we will be coming into your advisory classrooms and we'll be sharing a lot more information with you. So we really appreciate your time and patience.
All right, so as you see, you are watching this presentation through YouTube Live so that we have the opportunity to upload this to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch this video in different captions. So if your family wants to know more about this information and they speak a different language, they will have the opportunity to watch it in that language. I am going to put that on how to use the closed captions and how to follow those directions in the chat, so you can use that and you just follow those directions in there. So I'll put that in the chat. We will also put that in Google Classroom. And Thank you. Thank you all for bearing with us. Thank you all for being here. We hope this was informative and helpful. We appreciate all of you, and we look forward to helping you through everything that's going to be going on this year. So if you have any questions, if your last name starts with an A or ends with Garcia G, it's Miss Carrillo. I'm Miss Cobbs. If your last name is Garcia H to S Nguyen, then I'm your counselor. And then if your first name starts with T, last name Nguyen through the end of the alphabet, then Miss Patrick is your counselor. So as we've said, please email us, make an appointment with us. If you need anything from us, please let us know. We are here to help you through this process and help you navigate through everything this senior year.
Thank you so much. And I know that this has been a long presentation. So again, thank you all for sticking through it with us. If you have any questions, you can stick around and we'll just want to put them in the chat and we can answer those for you. If not, then you are free to go. We'll be posting this in the Google Classroom. So you can access all this information. You can all make an appointment with us as well, and we can kind of explain a little further. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. And we're so excited to spend the rest of this school year with you. Thank you. Thank you. So any questions, you can put it in the chat and we will answer. And again, this is being recorded. This will be available later on this YouTube channel. We'll put the YouTube link in the Google Classroom. And if for some reason your parents or guardians were not able to attend tonight, you can show this to them. They can use the closed captions in any language. And we wanted to make it more accessible for everyone. So they'll be able to watch it, put the captions in whatever language they speak. That way they can get this valuable information. Thank you all. So if we don't have any questions, then we will go ahead and end this session. Thank you all for joining us and good luck this year.